my friend, it's Pat Sloan here. Welcome to Wednesday. So it's Block Wednesday. It is also, there's lots of holidays on every day. So it is Texas Cowboy Poetry Day. Like just the Texas Cowboys, I guess, and their poetry. I don't know. But I thought it would be fun to share cowboy and cowgirl quilts. If you have one, remember I showed mine with the cowgirl fabric rather the other day. If you have any quilts like that, I think it would be a fun day to show them. So our block today, before we do that, I was working with the Part Center to do a block for my front door. So here we go. Here's what I ended up with. Doesn't that look great? So what happened was, like the little half square triangles, they were not all exactly the same size. They were a little funky, but I made them work. And then I had to look around because I wanted something cheerful for the border, and I didn't have any more of the yellow print used here in the block. This was a fabric line called Frankie by Basic Gray, the company Basic Gray who does fabric with Moda. So I found this. Don't you think that works? It's got little white flowers with red centers, and I think it just gave the same feel, because look at the flowers here. See the flowers in this one? It's the same feel to me. And then my bonus was I went looking for green for a binding, and I actually found the same green. So I had a piece of it, this is what's left now, but I was able to make enough of that green for the binding. It's the same green from the fabric line, so I did keep what was extra. So now I'll just do a little bit of quilting on it, and then I can have a new block for the front door. So I am super excited about that. Okay, our Sweet Childhood Memories is today, and we are on block 12. Can you believe that? So there are 18 blocks. And block 12 is a small one, considering last week rather, you had a nice block that you got to put a little bit of effort into. Then you get a really easy block this week. It is our outdoor games. So here is the block, and I did here's the sheet, the worksheet, the cut sheet, and then here it is in repeat. I think it's a super easy block, and when you put it side by side, it creates a star, and you could play around with coloration to see, like you could get some different coloration. I think it'd be super fun. Isn't that neat how that turns into a star quilt? So cool. Okay, so I tell you a little bit about living in New Jersey and apartment complexes and how we would play a lot of carnival games. I'm not sure why we were so excited about carnival games, but that is what sticks in my memory. We did go to like the Fireman's Fair with my grandmother, where it was just like in the parking lot, it was super tiny, but I can just remember it because we would win goldfish, and then we'd have to leave them at my grandmother's house. They just never seemed to appear at our house afterwards. But we would, put little, things up to have ring tosses and stuff like that. So those were sort of the outdoor games. So there's tons of different outdoor games. Like you may have played softball. Who knows? I just would love to hear, when you share your block, share what outdoor games you love to play. Now for today's, I'm going to go with the red and the blue again. So I will keep that. And we're going to talk about sashing color too. So these are the three fabrics I'm going to use, the red and the blue, with this as the background for the block. And it's a small one that goes up here, like I said, so it's a nice little filler. So let me make the block, and then we'll come back and talk a little bit about sashing. And after we do that, I am going to, for the rest of the video, show you quilts. I'm going to take some of this stack of quilts and do some show and tell. So that'll be what we do for the rest of the video today. Here is the little block for this week, the outdoor games. And what happens is this red becomes the center of the stars, and the blue becomes star points. Okay, so let's take a look at that. I'm going to pick it up. So there you can see it. So if you imagine that red being four of them connected, 4 blocks connected, and then the star points would be the blue. So that if you want to do this kind of scrappy, you could do like different reds and different blues, and I think it would just be spectacular, as I always think they will be when you make a whole quilt of them. All right, so this guy goes up here, and there'll be a little bit of sashing. So let me take the other camera and let's look straight on at what I was doing with the sashing, because I was taking the green and the yellow from the fabric line and using that to connect things together. Let's take a look. I put up some of these sashings. So I used the green and the yellows, and I did cut some squares, but I'm going to show you up close here. This is just, I laid out this one piece of fabric, and then I put the block on top, and then I did cut a couple of squares down here. If I don't end up using them, I can put them in my 2.5-inch square bins. Same here. I laid down the yellow and then just cut the squares and put them on top. Now, I had mentioned I didn't use any, I'm not using any of the green and yellow in the actual blocks because I wanted to keep them to audition for the sashing, and so I'm really liking that. I did not use green or yellow up here. Instead, I used that cream color there, and I'm not liking that. I'm not liking that. If I'm going to go green and yellow here, then I think I have to do it everywhere so that it has some balance, because otherwise it doesn't have any, there's no green or yellow up there, and it's sort of mushy. It doesn't really give enough definition. And I'm using a lot of the prints, the light colored prints within the blocks, such as this one. So having them then in sashings, well, I think it might just be a little bland. But I'm loving this. This looks so good here to me. I just really like that. And that's one of the green fabrics. So I'm thinking that the plan is going to work. It's going to give that nice little balance of pulling in the green and yellow from the different fabric line, from the different parts of the fabric into the sashings. And it'll be a lot of fun to have those pops of color there. I popped out that fabric up there and put the charcoal that has the peach flowers on it so that it has a little bit more definition, and I don't know, that might work, or I might just go with green. Might just go with green. So there's just taking a look at it with the charcoal. If I did charcoal up there, then I feel like maybe I'd have to do a little charcoal here and there down into the other spaces, and I'm thinking that might not work. That just seems a bit dark as a sashing, so I think I will go with the green. The great thing about auditioning like that is that I'm not cutting much fabric. I did cut some of the squares, but I laid them on top of the other fabric, which is not cut. And then that way, if it's not working, like this one it was just too light, it didn't do anything for that space at all. So I definitely will go with a green, because the charcoal isn't doing it either. It's too dark, it's breaking it up too much. The other thing I've noticed is that this green is a little bit darker than the others, so I might save it for some really skinny spots. There's a few places in the layout, like right here. If I need it, I will kind of save it for that, or maybe for some of the checkerboard, because this is a little bit darker green than the other two. So if I can keep it on the sort of lighter side, I think that will make it all flow really, really well. Oh, I have to show you my blocks before I forget, because I'm likely to forget. Let me get them. Let's see, I've got blocks in here. Let's pick 2 blocks for today. What are the top 2 I've not shown you yet? The March block a day. Here they are, side by side. This one has really sweet little hummingbirds on it. Isn't that pretty? So 2 more blocks. Another day or so I need to, when I can, maybe Friday, I might put these all up on the wall again. And so we can see what they look like together. I can see anyways. So I know some of you have already finished a whole top. That is awesome. Make a second. Go ahead. You got enough days. Go ahead. Okay, let's take a look at some of my quilts. These are ones that will either go to charity or need binding, or both. This is one that I need to put binding on, but I am going to keep it for a little bit. It'll eventually go to charity. This is a sew along that we did, and we did the big one, and then I did a smaller one called Beautiful Morning. And there are still kits for the full quilt. It is using my birdsong fabric. And I loved doing this little bit smaller version and putting a border on it, because it is great size to hang on the wall or as a baby quilt. The backing is some birdsong. And then I want to show you the quilting on this. It is got some awesome fan quilting. It's by my friend Judy. Look at that. Look how awesome that is. I love that. I think this would be a great one to be hanging right now. And so if I get the binding done, if I put it on the top here, stack and put the binding on, then I can hang it in my hall. And I think that would be good. So I've had the other one up there for a little while, so I could switch it out now. I've had the one from the Holiday Hoopla book, so I could switch it out to that quilt, and I think that would be really cool. Okay, here is, this one will go on to charity. It is one of my Oh My Stars that I made in a really cheerful print. Oh My Stars takes 2 charm packs and then a little bit more fabric. So you have fabric for the border, fabric for the stars. And the key to this is making Oh My Stars is to really be sure that your stars pop, you know, if you want that effect, and also to be sure that you don't have any fabric that the star points touch that is too blendy, because otherwise you lose the star points. So the fabric all around the star, those fabrics, need to be a high contrast. I used my blue. It's kind of that same blue as in the fabric line for the backing, and this is my Harmony wide back fabric. And so I think this is a great little lap quilt. Some of these may go to people in wheelchairs or something like that. So I think that's a great size for that. Okay, this one's a little bit bigger. It's from an older book of mine. Whoops. Well, goodness. And it has some pillowcases even. Here's some pillowcases. This was done originally for a magazine, for McCall's, I believe. And then I think I put it in a book. Well, you know what? I don't remember if I did. I'd have to go and look. But, I've done so many books that I can't keep track of it. I don't always have good labels. Oh, there's one. I just know it was made in 2003. Okay. This is a beautiful little chain, sort of a chain quilt. There we go, with some applique on it. So the chain block is really nice. I think it's really fun. And I've got this nice gingham, which with the pink gingham in there. It's also in the binding. I quilted this one, and here was the backing. I just used all the one print. So it's like one fabric line, all those greens, and then the plaids, there's also green plaid here. Remember we talked about plaids the one day? This is green plaids and pink plaids. And that green and pink were Dan River Fabrics. If any of you remember Dan River Fabric Company, which was based in Southern Virginia. Their plants were in Southern Virginia. Their offices were in New York City. But I worked with Dan River Fabrics for quite a long time with the magazines. And so it was really fun to work with their things. Okay, what do I have now? Let me see. Oh, here's one. This is something I messed around with. It's just a disappearing 9 patch. And I had never done a disappearing 9 patch, so I decided to just take some fabrics and try one. So it was done just for fun. Nice lap quilt. It needs to have some binding put on it. And then one of my older fabric lines is for the backing. But it's done in a tight wave stitch again. Like I've used that a lot on different things. Had the long armors do that at the spa. For those of you who don't know, if I say that something's at the spa, that means it is there for getting quilted. It's just a fun way to say it's at the long armor. It's getting spa treatment. It's getting the layers quilted up. I think that's spa treatment. Okay, now this one you might remember if you've been following me a little while, where the year I did all of the crumb blocks, and then I used some of them for the Block Wednesday that we were doing, and I made just the middle part with crumb blocks, like a lot of crumb blocks, just to show you how you could take those and piece them. And then I had some cute chicken fabric. It just seemed appropriate. The black chicken fabric just seemed to work so well with these blocks. Yes, and then I used black and white Harmony wide back, my wide back from Benartex. That is in the black, or the white with black. this was fun to do. It was fun to experiment with it, play around with it, with the crumb blocks. Okay, so that one will go off to the people to do binding. Yes. And I think it's super cute. And it's got some little chicken feet in the quilting. Can you see that? There. It's big, but there's a chicken foot in the quilting. Just got to have fun. Okay. I don't remember what this one is. And honestly, I didn't open these up and go look, and my brain can't always remember. Oh, this was the jelly ripple or something like that. And I did more than one of those. So I did one with the coffee fabric, and then I did this one. And I used the leftover half square triangles in the border from the cutaways. Oh, that turned out really cute, didn't it? So there's the backing. But I think it turned out really cute. And it has a darling quilting pattern, like great big flowers. See if you can see them. So there's great big flowers, maybe on the back. There. So that's a nice one. It's a good size too. I think it's one of those where, you can get a lot of use out of it. It can go, to a taller person to wrap up in. All right, let's look at one more. This was another quilt along. I believe it was a little bit further back because this is an older fabric line of mine. This is Grandma's Kitchen. The other blocks, the other setting. I did Grandma's Kitchen. I did some extra blocks, and I put them more side by side rather than the asymmetrical setting. So there they are, Grandma's Kitchen, and then the backing is one of my batiks from a few years back, and the front is also has batiks and cottons, mixed together because I mix them together. Okay, I think that's a good show and tell for today. I'll have to see. I think I have all of those photographed except for probably this one. I'm not sure I ever took a photo of that one, so I'll do that one. That was sort of fun. The disappearing 9 patch, it's kind of like, you make a 9 patch and then you slice it and then you sew stuff back together, and they're kind of fun to do. Maybe we'll do it someday together. Maybe not. Maybe just do one on your own. Okay, my friend, you are going to make block number 12 and tell me about your favorite childhood outdoor games. And I'll get the block. Here it is. Ta-da! An easy one this week. So I love you. Mwah. Thank you for being here in the Sloan Zone. I will see you online.